All right, and this is going to be my video tour for my large ship here in Space Engineers, the SS Kawkaba, which is Arabic for Constellation, I believe. This is a frigate-sized vessel. It's a research ship. It's not really designed for deep space exploration, so it doesn't really have uh, heavily armed weaponry or anything like that. It's also not designed for like year-long cruises. But it is for science and exploration, and of course, it does have some reasonable defenses here. This is the ship. I am using I think the Space Got Real um, sky map because it's just the shadows look more dramatic and it's just pretty cool. Um, I do have the settings as best as my computer can go. It's not the best, but does what we can. So this is kind of what the ship looks like. There's this main section in the middle. Kind of has a smaller section up here, connected by some pylons. Then, of course, it has I call it the translight drive in the universe that this ship exists in. Now, this is a role playing vessel. This is not like a gamey space engineer's ship. This is a role playing vessel. This is part of a universe I have created. Originally, I had designed a much bigger ship and actually built a much bigger ship. It was called it a light cruiser. It's probably I think it was like triple the length, had double the decks. It was a massive ship, and I built it and everything. I had some hardware failure, and I had overwritten the file, and it wasn't published on the workshop, so I lost it completely. There's a graphic novel I'm kind of on and off working on. It's kind of like a Star Trek thing, where there's like this Starfleet ship, Enterprise XP, if you will, going off to explore the unknown. So that's what that ship is. So when I lost that ship, I decided to maybe build just a smaller vessel that's kind of in that same universe, but and that's what this is. So this ship has translight drive here. I believe there's 7 jump drives that make up the translight drive. So I think it has a jump distance of about 750 kilometers. I kind of like the lights here. Uh, got 12 large thrusters for forward thrust. Here's the hangar, which is closed right now. The way I design my ships, I do like a 1.5.3 ratio. So whatever the forward thrusters are, the rear thrusters, the braking thrusters, if you will, are going to be half that. So I have 6. And then the maneuvering thrusters, which is every other direction, is going to be a third of the main thrusters. So round it off, of course. So that's how I have the ship designed. Um, Now there is a few things here. We have this is a mod. I believe this is a tractor beam, which is also a mod. Yes. So I try and you make it as vanilla as possible. When I had built that bigger ship, I had a lot of mods to spiffy up the interior. But thanks to all the cool DLC that Keen's been putting out, I don't quite have to use as many mods. I do still use some interior decoration mods. But there's some functional mods I still use, and one of those is we got the tractor beam here, of course. Which, I mean, if you're gonna have a Star Trek vessel, you gotta have the tractor beam. Here's a forward laser gun. It's kind of the only main weapon that this ship has. Now, this ship is based off of the Oberth class vessel from the Star Trek universe, which is a small vessel, science. The big exploration vessels go explore system first. They fight the dangers off. Once they're done and they need to go off to the next system or the next sector to study the next star, these ships follow up and do the the more long-term research. So it doesn't really have a lot of weapons because it's not really doing the deep space exploring. It has 3 laser turrets, 2 up here, and I believe 1 at the bottom of the translight drive. Yep, right there. There's the shield emitter, which is also a mod. Garbage ejection, of course. So yeah, now this top part in universe, not space engineers can't really pull it off, but in universe, this top part is where all the science labs are, and it can be removed and then replaced with whatever modules you need. So like, for example, if it's going to be doing a major archaeological dig on a planet, you're going to put in the archaeological top deck on this thing. And then let's say next you're going to study nebula. You put in like a stellar cartography and astrophysics module on the top. Now, of course, space engineers, because of Clang, you can't really do that. So I just have it a permanent fixture. This hangar right here is the drone bay. We'll explore that in a little bit. There's also a couple of, you may have noticed some smaller hangar bays. Let me turn the light, like right here. We'll also talk about that in a little bit too. They're all over the ship. So really there's 2 main ways into the ship. You got and there's rear tractor beam. You got the main hangar bay, and then of course you have the little personal airlock over here. So let's just go inside and check it out with the tour. So this is your typical, there we go, your airlock mod that everybody uses from the workshop. It's very handy and nice. Alright, so this is Deck E. There's 5 decks. Deck E, Deck 5, the yellow deck. We'll go ahead and just take a quick tour of this. So this is kind of the industrial deck, where most of the ship industry is, I guess you could say. Here's an example of some crew quarters. There's about 55 crew on this ship. I don't know why that closed. But there's about 55 crew and crew quarters to fill up all 55 crew members. Each crew quarters has 3 bunks and, of course, appropriate lockers. Little living room for watching TV and movies. Got a little desk over here, and then bathroom. So now you could, I guess, have 55 players play on this ship in an actual server, but that might be way overkill and people might be bored. I'd estimate that like a 3 to 5, like if you get a group of friends, 3 to 5, you could actually have fun with this ship. Practically speaking, like in-game, even though it's designed to be a role-playing ship. You can probably have a lot of fun with 3 to 5. Even up to 10, you might be able to pull off pretty well. So here we have the main life support, which is where the life support generators are, the O2 units, O2 generators. I have 2 O2 generators and 6 oxygen tanks. Now, I think if I did the math right, 1 O2 unit, if it has enough ice, can provide oxygen for, I think, 600 players without running at a deficit. Of course, that's never going to happen. So having 2 of these is overkill as it is, but whatever. It's always nice to have. And of course, the 6 tanks can hold quite a bit of oxygen. So even if you lose your oxygen generators but keep the tanks, you're going to have air for a long time. Of course, I use the LCD readout script. That's very popular. That gives you different readouts. This control turns the life support units on and off. I think I have them off right now just because I was running in creative mode and the airlock script doesn't really like having it gets messed up with the full O2 tanks. Lockers are just full of both hydrogen and oxygen tanks. The airlock also had a locker with oxygen and hydrogen tanks. We have the machine shop here, which in universe this is going to be like where they fabricate all the parts and everything they need to repair the ship. In game, I use assemblers. 6 assemblers. I also have screens that tell you what each assembler is building. So if you have like say 6 players playing on this ship, you can each get assigned 1 assembler, so you don't have to like worry about sharing build time, which makes it a little convenient. Here we have the life pods. The door is off by design. There are a total of 10 life pods on this ship. Now, in universe, each life pod can fit like 5 or 6 people, but in game, you can't really do that without having the life pod being pretty large. So they only fit 1 each. Maybe at the end we'll take a life pod out and see how that works. We got a storage closet, 5 small storage containers, a little display telling you how much is on the ship. And this is also hooked up to the conveyor system, unlike the lockers, so that's pretty handy. Now moving along, we have an air vent. We have an elevator, which is of course a mod, because elevators are way cooler than stairs. I mean, who climbs stairs on a spaceship, right? Especially a Star Trek style spaceship. Description of what's on the deck, which of course I'm going over right now, and of course by each elevator we have the maintenance tubes, which is a ladder that allows you to go up to all decks in case you lose power or if you don't load the mod and need a way to get between decks. Main engineering is down here. I use 2 large reactors to pretty much power all ship functions. Also a lot of cool displays with different scripts. Some controls, which mostly has like different readouts of different things. This is actually technically a backup flight controller in case like all hell breaks loose and you need to fly the ship. But at that point you're kind of SOL. Here's the shield generator from the mod earlier. Now, that goes to the reclamation room, which we'll get to in a moment. This goes to the other hallway. And then this is the chief engineer's office, a little snug little place to, chill out and stuff. So, and of course, engineering has its own air vent in case the outside hull gets compromised or the hallway gets compromised. So this little space right here is actually empty space. So as part of the role-playing aspect of the ship, I include space for like water supplies. I figured out how much water the average American uses per day, multiply that by the crew size. This ship is intended to go into 3 to 6 month voyages, usually 3. But I made sure I had enough water for all the crewmen for 6 months, and that's not counting getting more water from other sources. So there's enough empty space on this ship for the water, which is a cool thing I've done, I think. And the spaces are, for the most part, empty. I don't put gyros in there. I do have conveyors going through there because, water pipes are going to be a thing. So the reclamation room is like in-universe where they do waste reclamation, the recycling, reusing materials, water, that sort of thing. In-game, they are refineries. I really only had enough space for 2 refineries, so the ratio of 2 refineries to 6 assemblers is... you're going to have a bit of a backlog, but I do have... These are fully upgraded with modules, so don't have to worry about that. This goes back into the main engineering room. And, I could have probably fit more refineries in here, but the room would not have looked as cool, and you got to have a cool-looking room. So this is the other half of the E deck. Again, we have the water tanks in there. These are restrooms, so have a couple of toilets. Because you're going to have a lot of people working on this deck. You got all the engineers, you got the people monitoring the life support unit, the ones in the machine shop. You know, they're going to be working long shifts probably, so give them some public restrooms to use. This goes down to main engineering. Here's another elevator and air vent, and then we're back at the airlock. So kind of a little loop there. Let's go up to D deck, or deck 4, or red deck. I love that elevator music, it's great. So here's an example of more crew quarters. A little different layout, but more or less the same exact thing. These are, I believe, double quarters. Now, the double quarters is where 2 sets of quarters share a single bathroom. So we have yet other quarters in here. So 6 people share 1 bathroom. And most of the quarters are actually this double. It just saves space. The higher ranking crewmen, like petty officers, will get the single one. So let's go ahead and continue along in here. I debated putting a security station in here just because it is a pretty small ship. You know, you only have 55 crew. But you got to have somebody on board to break up fights or pass, you know, laws. If somebody breaks the law, you got to, you know, put your foot down. So there's probably 1 full-time crewman, maybe some part-time crewmen who act as security officers. These buttons activate the armory, which is in here, and basically it's loaded with like the elite assault rifles with a ton of ammunition. So if you need to go fighting, this is where you go in. And then in here we got the brig. Got 2 cells with one-way mirrors, or sorry, one-way windows. This will unlock and open the door, and got like a little toilet. I did before they actually added beds in the DLC. On the original ship I built, I used a mod bed that was like half a tile size, so I fit it into because I used the same brig design, so I was able to fit a bed in there, and you could squeeze around it. But I, you know, trying to downsize the amount of mods I use, so couldn't quite do that. But you know, people can sleep on a toilet. Oh yeah, that's right, it's delayed. So yeah, if you're playing and somebody's acting up, you just put them in there, and you're good to go. So that's a little security. And then here we have the hangar, the main hangar, which is also airlock controlled with the airlock script. Fit quite a few ships in here. Right now I have just a couple things I pulled off the workshop. There's this cool airtight small ship that I grabbed that I really like, so I put that. I think I built this. It's been like a month or 2 since I built this, so the ship, so I can't quite remember. A couple connectors, of course, some boxes for deck. But yeah, like, you know, if you're playing on a server and you're actually legitimately playing this ship, you know, you'd put your like miners back here, your welders, grinders, all your small ships, transports, everything you need. And there's a bit of room in here, so you can fit quite a few ships. Okay, we got the main cargo hold, which is pretty much all 3 large cargo containers with, of course, displays that tell you about what's in all the cargo containers. So, yeah, obviously you can fit a lot of stuff in there. So let's go into the hallway. And I believe in this space in here is also like water tank stuff. So more crew quarters, lifts, on this side. Before we go down this hallway, got an observation deck. So yeah, I know, you don't want glass windows because it's a hazard for, getting your people's space. But, again, this is a universe based on Star Trek, so gotta have some cool stuff. Got jukeboxes, vending machines, couches to relax. And there's also one on the opposite side too. Now, I am very proud of this. I got this idea from the Star Trek Next Generation technical manual for the Enterprise D. It had in their shelters where crew could chill out in case of danger. So these shelters, you press this button, it'll shut this door, it'll activate the air vent. It'll also activate a self-contained oxygen tank. The oxygen tank is set to stockpile by default, so it doesn't get used by the rest of the ship. But as soon as you activate this, it'll turn it on. It'll also turn on the beacon, so like I have like a emergency beacon, as well as a battery. So there's 4 shelters on this deck, and then 4 shelters on another deck. So I don't really see much of a gameplay use for them, but they are pretty cool. And so you probably noticed a couple of these. There's one on the yellow deck, and there's actually one of these on every deck. So this is a blast shield. I have the vents set to, if they depressurize, this will automatically shut. These consoles will turn on, and these LCDs will also turn on as well. So what will happen is that these will shut, and if there's a breach on one side of the deck, once it's shut, the other side will, of course, repressurize. And this screen will tell you if the other side is pressurized or not. So, like, for example, if this part is breached, this closes, you're safe over here, you're pressurized. This will say 0% pressure on the other side, so you know not to open it. And then these buttons will activate, you press it, it'll open up the blast door and shut everything off again. So it's a neat little feature. Here's the auxiliary bridge. I actually really like this bridge. It's small, but I just like the design. It's nice and compact. I won't spend a lot of time here because we'll go into the main bridge in a moment. But yeah, it's pretty cool. This is functionally exactly like the main bridge. I think it's missing one console and it's missing a few displays, but I have the 3D radar mod as well as a bunch of scripts and stuff. So yeah, we'll spend more time in the main bridge so you can see everything I have in there. Here's another one of the shelters. Let's see here. And then the other observation deck. So not a whole lot on this deck. So let's move up to deck 3. Now, these elevators use the Star Trek 5 floor naming method, where deck 1 is the bottom floor rather than the top floor. So that's kind of annoying. You can't really change it, but can't really do much about that. Okay, here's some more Lifepods. And oh, okay, it looks like I might have been playing on this deck a little bit, and there's some crew quarters in there. This is what I mean. So it's telling me on the other side that it's 100%, so it's safe for me to open. And everything shuts off. So yeah, this is purple deck. It's smaller because the hangar bay eats up a good chunk of the space on this deck. Here's the rec room. This uses a lot of a few mods, interior decoration mods, like the arcades, pool tables, everything, some couches, ATMs, jukebox with party music. Yeah. Okay. And then a nice viewing window to the hangar, kind of like this view. Cool, so let's keep going here. More crew quarters there. Okay, and then we have the backup life support. So this is a single oxygen generator with 2 tanks. Now this is normally off. Of course, you can turn it on. There's numerous places to activate. You can activate from here. You can activate from the main life support. You can also activate it from the bridges. And of course, the oxygen tanks are set to stockpile, and they just turn on when everything else turns on. So it's also kind of in the center of the ship, so this is less likely to get damaged than the main oxygen unit. We got a laundry facility. I feel this might be a little too large for 55 crew. And this is like a really ugly mod. This is like from 2014. But it's the only washer and dryer mod I could find on the workshop, so there you go. So, moving on. I guess this would be kind of like the amenities deck. This is where like probably the crew spends most of their time. So, yeah, I must have had a breach on this deck or something, I don't know. The gravity generator, I only have one. But it's pretty much in the dead center of the ship, obviously, so it's a gravity generator. Cool. Here's the sick bay. This is, of course, a place where you spawn because it has the medical center. I'm so glad they added these in the DLC. They are really nice. I really like them, even though they're not usable. But we got the OR room, which is where the actual medical center is, and the operating table. So this is where you'll spawn. And then I believe this is the doctor's office. Again, crew of 55, I don't really know how much medical staff you actually need. You know, like one doctor and maybe like a nurse or two, and that's about it. So it's kind of an extensive facility for what it is, but whatever. Okay, I'm going to start in the kitchen. So, of course, we got a little Spartan. Don't really have a lot of decoration here, but this is where they prep the food. And then, of course, the food storage room, which uses a mod for these refrigerators. And I believe I calculated it correctly, so there's enough food in these storage containers for like 3 to 6 months to feed the crew of 55. So I think I calculated it right. Maybe a little bit under, but that's okay. And then we have the mess hall, a vending machine, and some tables. Officer's lounge, which is basically like the bar. I had to use the disco one. The disco texture, it just looks too cool. These rooms really serve no practical purposes. They're just completely decorative, but as with most things on this particular deck, again, it's a role-playing ship, not a practical ship. So that is that. And then we have the battery room, something a bit practical. I can't remember how many batteries they have, but they're of course set to recharge only, and they're activated from main engineering or the bridges. Unfortunately, I don't believe this is enough batteries to really run the ship very well. If you move it, you're capping out 100%. Pretty much was just like one direction, so you're not really going to be doing much, and I think you only have like maybe half an hour or an hour last time I play tested it, if you're not moving at all. So it's definitely for emergencies, but you know, if you run out of uranium, that's where you'll have to rely on. Gym. More mod stuff. Now these treadmills are actually, it's a mod of a mod, but there's a treadmill mod which actually, if you're using it, will generate power. However, I found a mod of a mod that greatly diminishes it, so it's more realistic, but you know, whatever. Like if you're chilling and not doing anything, you might as well hop on one of these and take some load off of your reactors. This is the locker room, got showers, toilets, lockers, of course. So yeah, that is, I guess, the second part of the rec room. and we're going to deck B, which is the top deck of the main section. Let's continue our tour. So these are, I don't know why. Anyways, oh, you know what it is? Because I closed all the doors before I started the video, and I meant just to close the regular doors, but I think I accidentally closed some of those doors, so my bad. We got another one of the storage closets, which has several small containers hooked up to the conveyor system. And then we have, okay, so officer quarters. So this is, I believe, 2 officers live here. Nope, just a single one. Oh yeah, these are not the junior officers' quarters. So a single officer works here. They got a little kitchenette, some plants, their own bathroom, of course. A little luxurious. Remember, this is kind of more of a science vessel, not a military vessel, so it's going to be less Spartan than a military vessel. There's going to be more amenities than you would normally see on a military ship. This is the elevator that goes up to the top deck, which we'll go to, of course, in a little bit. Let's open you up. I believe those are crew quarters. More officer quarters. Power substation. So in universe, the purpose of this is kind of just to move power around the ship, to distribute power around the ship, which I also got from the Star Trek Technical Manual. Enterprise D had several power substations throughout the ship. In game, I use small reactors. I think I have 8 here. Also some power readouts. This maintenance hatch, as well as the one that was back there, go up to the top portion of the top deck, the upper units. Let's see here. I don't believe there's anything here. Oh, yes, there is. So those are quarters. We got the computer core, which is where the main computer is stored. I got like cool blue lights in the middle. Now in game, of course, this is where I load my scripts for like the LCDs, the airlocks, you name it, it's all here. So this is where you would use that if you were, actually playing this. Moving along here. And then we got, so this is the junior officers' quarters. I believe this is 2 officers. That's the bathroom. Yeah. So if you're like an ensign, this is where you'll be. These are the other shelters. So that's where you'll chill. More shelters, more quarters, public restrooms. And now we're at the main bridge, which got the cool view. And it's big, and yeah. So this is it. Again, it's functionally almost exactly like the aux bridge, but this has more displays and I think one more console. We will explore this in more detail in a moment. It has its own air vent with its own backup oxygen tank, which you can only activate from this bridge. So if the rest of the ship gets compromised, but for some reason the room with the windows does not, it has its own oxygen supply, so that's cool. This goes into the briefing room, where you have your briefings. Okay, so we're back in the main hall. This is the captain's office, the ready room, if you will. Also pretty Spartan. Connects directly with the captain's quarters, which is by far the largest quarters in the ship. Kind of designed this a little big, because I did all the ship on graph paper originally. But captain has a nice view of the outside, as well as, nice bedroom. And a sizable bathroom, so good amenities for the captain. And then we are, I believe, back where we started. So let's quickly Go up to the top deck. It's the smallest deck, so it won't take too long. Okay, deck A, or the green deck. So you have some more so like I was saying in the very beginning, this is a modular deck. They can take this off and put another one on at like space dock for different science fields, if you will. So you have different science labs. I just kind of made different sciencey things that are completely random, kind of like a airlock, well, not an airlock, but kind of like a pressurized chamber, decontamination shower, a bunch of lockers. Science Lab 2 has some like displays, got like a planet, probe, just some random stuff. Life pods, and when you're up here, kind of separate from the rest of the ship, those life pods definitely come in handy. Some restrooms, because you're kind of far away from anything else, kind of more of a biology lab. Chief Scientist Officer's office is here. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff. So let's go and look at some of the practical stuff that the ship has. So, okay, I don't know why that alarm triggered, but that is the depressurization alarm. So if you hear that, something's depressurized somewhere. So I don't know why, it must be a glitch or something, but one of these decks just had all of its doors, blast doors shut. So let's go to the bridge. Okay, so here is the flight controller. This is where you pilot the ship. I just have some displays showing speed, location, how far you are from different GPS points, translate drive charging time. So if you'll notice, in the hotkey section, I have timer blocks on 1, 2, and 3. So that is basically condition green, yellow alert, and red alert. We're in condition green right now. Yellow alert will turn on the shields. You can kind of see the it gray outside, and then the shield logo showed up in kind of the bottom right. Kind of see the shield. I have it set to kind of a low setting, low visibility setting, but the shield mod's cool because it kind of makes the so your ship can get hit without like getting hurt too bad. And then red alert will turn on the guns because the guns are actually not on by default. So we'll turn on the guns, and of course we have the classic red alert alarm from Star Trek. So it's fantastic. Also, going to red alert will shut the doors to the observation room, and I think the captain's quarters if they're not already shut, because those are the they have glass walls, glass windows, so kind of adds a little bit of protection to prevent the main decks from getting space. So let's go back to green. We got a front view camera, and I put this on here mostly so you can zoom in, because the main laser on this ship has a 3-kilometer range, which you kind of need to zoom in if you're going to want to be able to hit enemies. Of course, that range advantage puts you in godlike status against pretty much any vanilla enemy AI pirate ship. Even though this is supposed to be a weakly armed research vessel, you can pretty much just kill anything you want. So, also, it would be nice to turn or disable third-person perspective on this if you're playing this on a server, so you kind of have to rely on cameras. to be able to view things. 5 is, of course, jump. 6 is remote control if you want. Oh, for autopilot, that's right. 7 will change the main flight control to the auxiliary bridge. And then, yeah. Oops, excellent. And this is tactical. Not really a whole lot here. Just gives you a damage report, shield and weapon status. Just something cool. Here's ops, which is your basically data from Next Generation. Gives you some general stats. Your assemblers and refineries, if they're being used right now. Backup systems. Can't remember what these do. Oh, turns on backup life support batteries and the bridge oxygen tank. And then this tactical is also gives you the alerts and the tractor beam usage. Here's environmental, which gives you all the life support readouts and also turns on and off the backup, life support, and main life support too. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now with this. And then over here we have the mission ops, which is basically in universe, this is like if you're doing an away mission on a planet, this is where you coordinate with your away team from here. In game, you can't really do that. I wish you could post. I wish the LCD readouts will allow you to post stats of like your small ships, your other ships, but it won't. But I do use it for launching drones. So there's 3 drones in the drone bay. We saw that when I was doing the tour on the outside. So this is the camera view from inside, and then of course you can open it. And then if we go to external view, yep, you can kind of see them open right there. And behind the drone bay is where like the antenna and all the scanners are. I do have the scanners set to like proximity detection, so if you get like within like a kilometer of an asteroid, it'll freak out. It'll give you an alarm. If an enemy comes within, I think it's 20 kilometers, the alarm will sound. So that's kind of cool. And then of course I have control the 3 probes by hotkey as well. So that is mission ops. I do have 2 space-only probes and then 1 atmospheric probe. So you can go down to a planet, and they all have ore detectors. You know what? Let's just fly one. So, of course, the probes have their own cameras, forward and reverse. I'm going to turn on the spotlight, thruster, battery, antenna, and deconnect it. So, yeah, there's the atmospheric one. It's a little beefier. And then, yeah, you can just fly around if you get near asteroids, you know. I mean, only one player can use the mission ops, but, I mean, you could just have, like, several players on different controls doing all 3 probes, which, you know, allows you to hunt for ores that you're trying to find. You know, they got like an hour of full thruster battery life, so they're cool. Yep, there he is. Okay. You got the 3D radar here. You can see both ships now. This is logistics. So this is basically how much cargo is being used, which is, I got some stuff in the cargoes, but hardly any. It gives you the camera for the hangar bay. And I also have airlock control for the hangar bay from back here, so you don't have to go down to the hangar bay to use the airlock. You can control entirely from the bridge. There is no outside access like the small airlock has, so you have to be inside the ship to open up the hangar bay, but this will, yeah, you can just pretty much operate a lot of stuff from the bridge. Oh, looks like I have an enemy. Oh, if he's still alive... We'll see. Okay, we have engineering, which will turn on... Turn on what? Oh, this will turn on off the main reactors. Also activate the batteries. It just gives you some readouts of power usage and that sort of thing, and how much uranium you have. This is the captain's chair. This is what is not in the aux bridge, but I just need something to fill this space. It just tells you some very basic information, and that's about it. Now, this is the debug control. So this is mainly like if you activate shelters, it turns on like the backup beacons, or if you use the Lifepods and you need to like reset everything. This is like the debug panel. You don't normally use this unless you're like putting things back together. Let's go ahead and I have a speed mod on, so I can go up to 500 or 450. I think I had it set to. But this ship is pretty clunky. I don't have like engine mods or maneuvering mods, so even with large ion thrusters, like as you can see, it's about 24 million kilograms, which is a lot heavier than I thought it'd be, but I do use heavy armor, even though they're half blocks for most of the ship. I do use heavy armor on the outer hull. When I built the whole interior of the ship, which the whole interior was done, I just didn't have outer hull yet. It was only 4 million kilograms. It wasn't really that much. But I added the translight drive, which was like, or I added the thrusters, which was about like 1.5 million. The translight drive was about 1 million. But yeah, the armor is really heavy on this ship, even using half heavy blocks. So I'm not even at 50 meters per second yet, and there I am. Okay. So let's go to red alert. Let's cruise there for now. There's the gun. See if I need effect. But yeah, I think I have a mod which allows you to target. I forgot what it's called. Like, it tells you where to shoot, basically, for moving targets. So. Leading targets, I guess is what it's called. Oh man, it's taking a while. But I'm not really going that fast either. See, I'm flying on 2 axes right now, and I'm using 77% of my strength, my power output. That's with the 2 main reactors and then that power substation. And if I go on 3 axis, I'm pretty much almost using all my power. Okay. I'm going pretty fast. I'm not going to be able to brake in time. Okay, let me just start braking now. Alright, there he goes. Target acquired. Gotta wait until I'm in 3 km range. There we go. Ah, it's going a little low. But yeah, I'm just tearing this ship apart. Can't really see. That's a cool looking ship. Might actually get close enough to have it attack me. Oh no. Yep, it's starting to accelerate. Oh, I'm getting close. What are the turrets range? Like 800 meters? Oh, my turrets are now firing on it. So, see, there you go. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I think my tractor beam's working as well. Oh, that was awesome. Okay, well. So that's that, and then let's, where'd you abandon ship? There it is, abandoned ship. So let's, turn on condition green. Is that what that is? Yeah. It's not working. Why? There we go. I have to look into why that's not working, but let's abandon ship. I'll need to go down a deck. Man, it's really slowing down right now. Ugh. Oh, see, this is now open. It wasn't before, and there's red lights. So, there are 3 life pods in this unit. So you press this button. It'll shut the door. It'll turn the door off so no one else will open it and space the hallway, and it'll open up the hangar. And then you'll just hop into the life pod. And you just use the hotkeys in order, so turn engines on. I guess they're already on. Beacon on. Battery on. Light on. There we go. So these life pods are very basic. So they have basically forward and back thrusters. That's it. They have battery power for not much. As you can see, it's only about half an hour with thrust. But it has a lot of oxygen. A lot of oxygen. I think it's like 8-9 hours of oxygen. I also have in the connector, I have tools, weapons, oxygen bottles, but also supplies to build a survival kit. So you can, if you land on a planet or don't land on a planet, you can at least build a survival kit so you can, start up your little colony. So, and there is a parachute as well, so you can land on planets. Yeah, and that's this ship. And of course, this is this ship as of today, which is February 1st, 2020. I might update this ship later, so there might be stuff that's out of date by the version that is currently available on the workshop. So I do apologize in advance for that. But yeah, hope you like the ship. I know it's kind of a long video. Try to make it as exciting as possible, and I'll see what next ship I make next time.